So let's talk about one of those stories that they were just talking about. The FBI saying it's just hard to find good cybercrime experts these days. You know, the hackers hired to fight other bad guy hackers is who we're talking about. Well, Director James Comey says Congress okayed adding 2,000 more employees. Here's the problem. A lot of the applicants apparently are potheads. So now the agency is thinking about changing its no marijuana policy. Comey tells a crime conference yesterday, quote, "I have to hire a great workforce to compete with those cyber criminals. And some of those kids want to smoke weed on the way to the interview," unquote. Is this a sign that things are changing? Well, let's talk to this specific thing with Adam Clark-Estes. He's a senior writer for Gizmodo. Adam, thank you so much for being here. So I mean, first of all, I have to ask, pot smokers have a lot of stereotypes, right? One being that they're not so smart. Another, that they are the best computer programmers. What do you say?
I don't know. I mean, I think it totally depends on the hacker, but the fact of the matter is that this FBI policy, and this is across most of the federal government, it disqualifies a lot of people from even applying for a job. And so even if you were a talented hacker, it's clear that people are getting scared away by the clear ban.
Well, I mean, look, if I came in and I had been smoking pot, there'd be an issue here at my job, right? And possibly yours as well?
Well, I think it totally depends on the company, but inevitably, there are two main aspects of this story. You can talk about, on one hand, how the country is dealing with marijuana policy, and it's clear that we're going to have to do a lot of thinking about that in the next few years. And as states are beginning to legalize it for recreational use, we have to change the way we think and talk about marijuana. And the other thing is cybersecurity, which is a really, really serious issue. The government has been open about how it's not prepared to protect the nation's cybersecurity, and even President Obama said that it's one of the biggest threats. And so, you know, we need to do anything we can to protect national security and catch hackers who are stealing your credit card numbers.
All right, well, let's talk about that very first issue you brought up about if we're going to start looking at people differently or the situation differently of pot. I mean, if you can't smoke you can't smoke cigarettes at work in a lot of places. You can't come in and be drunk in a lot of places. How is pot different from any of those other things, do you think? Well,
I just want to clarify something. I don't think that the FBI is necessarily saying it's going to be okay to come to work and, you know, smoke pot in our DC headquarters.
Right, but he said they're like smoking pot on the way to the interview.
Yeah, I mean, it's an off-the-cuff example, but the main thing is that you cannot get a job at the FBI if you smoked pot in the last 3 years.
So do you think that it should change?
I do. I think that the federal government should liberalize its policies a little bit, and that's not just something. I think that's something that's happening. Just a couple months ago, the military approved a study to look into using pot to treat vets with PTSD. So, I mean, if we're already thinking about using this drug that has clear improved medical benefits on our soldiers, you know, I think letting other federal government employees use it too makes sense.
All right, but what about cybercrime experts? To your second point, what are our options?
Well, these are our options. We've seen the federal government recruit hackers as young as middle school age, and it's now, you know, some of the biggest representatives at the biggest hacker conferences, both the so-called black hat hacker conferences, which are sort of like bad hackers, and the white hat hacker conferences, which are good hackers. The biggest recruiters there are from the NSA, the FBI, the Pentagon, and the government has to go straight to the source to find the people who know about this stuff. You know, a great example of this is Sabu, who was a famous LulzSec hacker. He was arrested 3 years ago.
Right.
Faces over 100 years in prison, but his sentencing has been pushed back more times than I can count because he's helping the FBI fight cybercrime.
Boy, yeah, it is a quandary, no doubt about it. Adam Clark-Estes is a senior writer for Gizmodo. Adam, so grateful that you're with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much.